Barry Finnegan is the director of North Country Honor Flight. Welcome. It's good to see you again.
Thank you, Tom. It's great to see you as well.
We tagged along on that final flight of 2018 in October, and a beautiful day in Washington, D.C., and you had the honor of escorting Ron Hadley, 97-year-old World War II veteran.
It was an amazing day, and his experiences during World War II were just phenomenal. He was at every major battle that you could possibly name. I mean, we were an hour and 15 minutes to get around the World War II Memorial, which usually takes about 15 minutes, because every spire that we stopped at, he had been in that battle. You know, being in the Navy and one of the transport ships bringing Marines ashore, they brought all the troops ashore and then they were basically done. So off to the next place they went. And he was moved around quite a bit, and just such a nice guy. Like I say, it was like pushing my father around all day. I think that's as close as I'm ever going to come to having a veteran that really reminded me of my father, which is why I'm doing this, and a remarkable day for me all the way around.
And as a group standing around the Marine Corps Memorial and hearing him talk about how I watched this happen.
He started out, and you know, there's maybe 4 or 5 of us there. And I started telling the story about, you know, how the ship was out there and he saw this thing go up, and next thing you know, everybody's grabbing their field glasses. And by the time he finished that story, possibly 10 minutes later, there was probably 100 people surrounding him, just, you know, bending an ear to hear what he had to say. I'm not sure how many of those eyewitnesses can be left, but I know it's not a big number. But to hear the words from somebody who actually saw it. And he realized at that point, he said, you know, you see the flag go up and you're just proud of your troops because they got that far. And to find out it became a monumental moment later was a different for him, because he didn't realize at that time how important that moment was going to be.
And he had never been to the memorial.
Never.
That was his first trip to see it.
Yep.
And that's the thing. For so many of the veterans, this is their first trip to D.C. to see these memorials, and that is such a big part of the Honor Flight.
It's the basis of the Honor Flight. That's why we exist, is to get these World War II guys especially, and the Korean guys are not much younger than they are. So the whole idea is they weren't afforded the opportunity to get down there in the prime of their life. So they need a little bit of help. This Honor Flight provides that help, and we've taken 390 so far, so we're awfully proud of that.
World War II veterans are the priority in the sense that you want to get them while you still can, to be able to do this for them. Most of them are now well into their 90s, their late 90s. Ron Hadley was 97.
Correct.
And so your priority is to find World War II veterans if you can.
We're still searching. We're doing everything we can, because we know there's still some out there. Our worst fear is they're not aware of the Honor Flight. Nobody's has a venue to speak to them and let them know that we're available for these kind of trips. So we're trying to get word out best we can to every World War II veteran in the area, and get them on that day that they deserve. And the Korean guys, like I say, they're only 5 years behind the World War II guys. So they're getting up there. We've got 4 90-plus Korean veterans on this flight coming up. They're over 90 years old, and they're all pushing 90. So there's not a whole lot of time to mess around there either.
And you have 4 World War II veterans on this flight, including a 101-year-old.
101. Yep, Mr. Boussier couldn't go last year. His wife had a stroke, but she's doing well now, and he feels it's a good time to go, so he's going at 101.
How important is it to you to be able to do this?
It's just, you know, sometimes you almost feel selfish. It's such an honor and a privilege to be around these people. They're the heroes of the world. I mean, in World War II, who knows what would have happened if they wouldn't have done their job and done it so well. And for me to be around them and get to have conversations and actually hear all their stories, it's a privilege.
And you work to make this a special day for them, a day that they'll remember for the rest of their life.
We've got so many great volunteers that all have a piece of the puzzle, and when it all comes together, we think we do a darn good job, and we think they have the best day possible.
You're on flight number 27 this year. That'll be the first flight of the year. The previous flights, you've had thousands and thousands of people turn out for the send-offs.
Oh my, it's
Here in Plattsburgh, at the airport, and now at the City Rec Center, the turnout at the crack of dawn on a Saturday, out of respect
Sure.
to wish these guys a great day and a great trip.
Yeah, we're getting to the point where it's not a secret anymore. We went through a couple of years where nobody really realized what we were doing. Now people know, and they realize that 7 o'clock in the morning is early on a Saturday. What these guys did for our country, I think we can get up and get over there to show them our respects.
And then they send them off from the airport. When they get into Dulles, there's another celebration, another welcome party waiting for them. Groups from the Virginia and Washington area, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, turn out time and time again to welcome these veterans to Washington.
It's been a nice surprise. When we were out at BWI Airport, we were kind of in the international terminal, which is very quiet. We were basically the only plane that came in, and the crowd was very limited. Now that we're at Dulles, we come into the main terminal, and anybody that's flying that day stops, claps, hugs, shakes hands to all our veterans as they go by, and then all these groups that are planned. You know, they know when we're coming, and they know it's North Country Honor Flight, and they show up in force. We've developed a relationship with some of them. We've actually got one of the girls from the American Heritage Group who she's got her sign, and
We have a shot of her running alongside the bus.
she's fast.
She's incredible. So she's actually going to get on the bus and travel with the veterans to the memorials
Yep.
for this trip.
Yeah, we're going to make her run for a little ways still, but then we're going to stop the bus and let her and her father and mother on the bus. So she's going to get to and spend the whole day with us and see exactly what we do and get some time to interact with some of those veterans. And I think it's going to be a thrill of a lifetime for her.
What's that mean to the veterans to have a reception like this? Strangers that will turn out at Dulles to do this for them.
It's so touching that each of those veterans, they'll all come back and say, you know, we never knew, we didn't realize. A lot of these veterans, nobody's ever thanked them for their service whatsoever. And then to see this kind of outpouring of support, and they get very emotional. It's touching, and they're awfully honored. And when they get off that plane at night, and I'd say, you know, most of them are going to tell you it's one of the best days of their life, if not the best day, and you know you're onto something.
And they have an emotional-filled day there in D.C. between all the memorials, the trip to Arlington National Cemetery to witness the changing of the guards. So a lot of emotion, a lot of memories,
Yeah.
especially for Ron Hadley, as you said, there at the World War II Memorial, almost every part of it bringing back memories for him. So for them, it's a memorable day, but it must also be an incredibly emotional day for them.
This is kind of a celebration, but it's also very solemn. You never know, we can never know what's going through that veteran's mind. Some of them, it's as soon as you walk down into the World War II Memorial. The memories and the emotions start to stir, and sometimes they just need a moment by themselves. And it might be a minute, it might be 5 minutes. But let them have that. Not a lot of conversation needed at that point. And then do your best, use your best judgment to make sure that they're doing okay, and move on. Usually it's a brief moment and they're okay. But for some of those veterans, it really hits home. We've noticed with the World War II guys, I guess it's been long enough. The Korean guys as well. The Vietnam guys are a whole different situation. Being fresher on their mind, you know, being younger, some of them, and the crowd at the Vietnam Wall is just totally awesome. There's people.
Of course, many of them didn't get when they came home
Right.
from the war.
Right, and that's what we've said, you know, nobody deserves this more than the Vietnam veterans. The reception they received upon coming home was horrible. We can't change that, but we'd like to let them know that this is not the sentiment anymore. We know why you went, we appreciate that you went, and we're here to show them that we really do have gratitude for them.
And this trip doesn't cost them a thing.
Nothing, no.
You have volunteers and people who year-round now are raising money to help make this possible. It costs thousands of dollars for each flight, and you count on the community to make it happen.
And they step up every single time. We've got people doing fundraisers now that are off the charts. You know, we started out, we were selling cookies at the mall for a weekend, making $200. And now we've got people that are outside of our core of volunteers that are doing these events basically all on their own. And that takes a huge load off our volunteers, where now we can devote our time to making sure that plane is full and everything is in order.
The next honor flight will be Saturday, May 18th, with the send-off ceremony on the U.S. Oval in Plattsburgh at 7 a.m. You could also watch more of our interviews from our trip with the honor flight last fall and learn more about North Country Honor Flight on our website at mountainlake.org.